Hi everyone and welcome back. Today is an important day in the Jewish calendar is Tisha B'Av, the day of mourning for many reasons. It's known as the day that the Jewish temples fell, both temples. It is also known as the day that the Bar Kokhba revolts fell apart. And And also, it's the day that marks the exile from Spain. Um, so I actually wrote some original works on this. Um, I'm going to read the work I made on Bar Kokhba, and you tell me what you think. Okay? Simon Bar Kokhba knew that it was over. The Sanhedrin has lost all its civil authority. Rome, even after he liberated Judea for 2 years, has come back and is slaughtering everyone. He can sense that everything is falling apart. The blood on his hands is so thick and he can hear the screams. But what was he supposed to do? Hadrian's promise of a restored temple was broken, and instead he was building a temple of Jupiter. Rome was already vilifying them. Rumors that he could already sense were going to haunt his people were clouding the public's mind. The hatred for the Jews was growing, and even the Jewish people that was recovering from the first attempt at ridding themselves of Rome by living in Pompeii was now destroyed by Mount Vesuvius. While the Jewish population was still growing in the Parthian Empire and city state, and some influence was still possible, and the exilarchs were still around, but the kingdom of Judea needs to exist. This was their homeland. Jerusalem was still here. They were able to survive the Kitos War, and with Rome moving the Jewish population of Cyprus and Cyrenaica to Judea, why shouldn't they revolt? They had the population and they had to do something. Lies about Jews doing atrocities, acts, and suspicions against them were growing. Appian and Tacitus, those awful historians, created the lies that said his people were just a hoax and the Romans who believed we they were barbarians and creating the lies of human sacrifice. How dare the Romans call them the barbarian horde when, as he faced his death, they were willing to try and wipe out his people? They nearly took Egypt during the war against Kitos. Why would this be different? And why shouldn't he be called a Messiah? He restored Judea. He gave the Jewish people a chance against Rome. He started a war with Rome and started the guerrilla conflict and even fought Rome openly and won. In many ways, he hoped he could be like Judah Maccabee, but more. Rabbi Akiva even proclaimed him the Messiah before he died by the hands of the Romans for teaching Torah and Akiva's connection to him. Akiva had hope in him and a temple could be restored. And with the reestablishment of Judea and the printing of coins with Jewish symbols, it felt like they were so close. But Hadrian came back and they were dying. Was he wrong? Hadrian, who once promised them a temple, the Hadrian who was going to rebuild Jerusalem, was avenging himself on his people, all because he broke a promise to begin with. He did rebuild Jerusalem, but as a city for his gods and himself. So, of course, he and Kiva would revolt. What other choice did they have? But now it was over, and he and his people are falling. He was a fallen or false Messiah. Already, the surviving scholars and teachers of his people are denouncing him and saying how he brought ruin to the people. It is Tisha B'Av, he thought. How poetic his end would come now on the date that they lost the temples to Rome and the Babylonians. Already he can hear the passage of the Ketuvim, book Ecclesiastes. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. I hope you enjoyed that work and have a good rest of your day.